Hey there everybody, it's Mark Crilly. I'm back with another How to Draw video. You know, a couple of years ago I did a video on how to draw a realistic manga face. It was very well received, but the resolution of my videos was pretty cruddy back then. So I'm going to do a new one. This time I'm going to try to challenge myself to go even further in the direction of realism. Now what you've got here is a perfect square. I've made mine a little bit less than 2 inches on all sides, but it really doesn't matter. Make it as large as you want. You can make it the size of a billboard. If you like, just make it a perfect square. That's all you need to do. Now I'm going to go quickly in time-lapse, add some horizontal and vertical lines, and I'll come back to explain what I've done. All right, so you can see these lines I've put in here are at slightly irregular intervals. I would say that this one is around 1/4 of the distance, and then you kind of split the distance there. This one also around 1/4 of the distance. This one I would say is close to 1/3, maybe a touch under 1/3 from the top to the bottom. But let's go ahead and start drawing one of the eyes. Now this is a highly unorthodox way of teaching someone how to draw a face, but I'm always interested in giving absolute beginners a kind of a shortcut towards doing a good drawing. You know, it helps build confidence, and it helps you become aware of the importance of understanding line placement. And so what I'm doing here is using this first box here to give me a sense of where to place the left eye. Actually, it should be the right eye. His right eye. My left side of the square. Come on, Mark, get it right. And now I'm going to add in here the iris. Notice how it is tucked well underneath that upper eyelid. This gives him a very relaxed look. I've noticed over the years that that is key, the degree to which the iris is concealed, partially concealed by that upper eyelid. Very important. Now I'm adding a fold for the upper eyelid. Notice the spaces between here. I mean, this is where the upper, or where the eyebrow is going to go. You need to replicate these spaces between things. And I'm going to add also the pupil, just kind of touching that upper eyelash line. And let's go ahead and do the indication of the eyebrow. It sort of lands right on top of that upper line, of the square that we drew at the beginning. Notice that it goes past this line. That's because the face is going to be tilting a little bit away from us, looking back at us. And having got that in place, I'm going to move on and draw in time-lapse the other eye, the other eyebrow, and come back to explain the slight differences between them. All right, so we've got the eyes in place here. Because that line was, like I said, about 1/4 of the distance, this ends up being more compact, and that helps to get things accurate in terms of the face turning slightly away from us. Let's go ahead and move on to drawing the nose. Now this line right here, this vertical line, is going to be where the bridge of the nose kind of connects up here. Notice the angle, the very gradual angle as I bring the line of the nose out here, and then it curves back, and just this intersection right here is a great guideline for where that curves back and comes to an end. Having that, if you didn't have that guideline, you might keep that nose line going, and you'd end up with quite a schnoz there. But we're going to go ahead and draw the other line that indicates the edge of the nostril. And notice the distance from here to here. That helps you place that. And speaking of the nostril, we're going to go ahead and drop that in. Try to keep it subtle. You don't want to go too dark or exaggerate the nostril on any level. It's very easy to make that too big, and then you end up with this sort of flared nostril look. And I'm just indicating a little bit of where the shadow is going to go there. And even this upper edge of the nostril, going too much into drawing lines around that can give you problems later on as well. Let's move on to drawing the mouth. I have found, this may be just me, but I have found that drawing the mouth is incredibly challenging. I think in many ways more challenging than drawing the eyes, because the eyes, you can kind of draw lines all the way around the various components of the eyes, no problem. but you cannot start drawing really hard lines around the lips. I guess if you're drawing a female character with lipstick, maybe you can, but this is a male character. And when you're doing the upper lip, the line of the upper lip, you really have to keep it light. And the spatial relationships between all these lines are very crucial. Anyone who's tried to draw a mouth, I think, would probably agree with me about this. You know, it's very easy to have it too puckered or just kind of unnatural looking. So I can't give you super easy guidelines to follow here, but basically notice that the line of the mouth itself is starting here, extending past that vertical line. And then, you know, everybody's mouth is different, but generally the lower lip is going to be substantially larger than the upper lip. And basically, don't get too much into, you know, we have this idea of the sort of M-shaped upper lip. That's fairly unusual. But, you know, again, in the case of lipstick or something, maybe you might be able to get away with that kind of thing. And finally, before I move on to drawing the rest of the face, I'm going to do what is one of the trickiest parts of this type of drawing, and that is getting the jawline right. But we've got some guidelines here to help us do this. I've got a sort of a slightly diagonal line coming down here to this point. It comes back out at a very gradual angle, and then around midway through it comes back and intersects right here. Now focus on this little sliver of a triangle here, because that's going to help you get the angle of this line right. And I'm going to pull back the camera so that we can do the rest of the line that delineates the edge of the jaw. Okay, so I've pulled all the way back here, and I'm going to take that line and sort of extend it. And so that's why it's so important to get that sort of sliver, the shape of the triangle at the right shape, because that's going to allow you to get the angle of this line right. Okay, and then it's sort of a 90-degree angle here. Now the trick becomes, where does the chin line go? What I'm doing is sort of imagining this line extending down here, and right around where those two lines would meet, maybe just a touch to the left, is where you're going to put this 90-degree angle, sort of like a reverse letter L that you end up here. And that's going to help us place the chin. Watch how I do this. I extend this line down here. You could maybe come out just a touch to create the contour of the chin. But notice, again, a little bit of a triangular space created here as you do the jawline. And then, very conveniently, you can just continue following exactly along that 90-degree angle line. Now again, you know, this is just how the face looks in this one particular pose. I think a lot of art teachers would look at this and say, you know, this is utterly useless as a drawing lesson. In fact, they would probably say it in that tone of voice. This is utterly useless as a drawing lesson. I'm appalled. But in any case, I find these kind of things useful, especially for the beginning artist, to just sort of jump in and start doing a somewhat advanced or more challenging drawing like this. Now I'm going to very quickly draw an extra box here to help me place the ear. Okay, so I have pretty much replicated the exact same square over here, and this far line over here is going to help me find how far the ear would extend in this particular pose once again. And, you know, this is not going to be a video about how to draw the ear. I happily have a video just on that very subject. In fact, I'll link to it at the end of this video, a quick way of drawing all those complicated interior lines of the human ear. But we're going to spare you that in this lesson. And I'm going to go ahead and draw those lines in time-lapse, and then maybe even move immediately from that onto drawing lines of the hair. But maybe before we do that, why don't we give you one last thing that you probably should focus on when you're drawing this, and that is, where does the neck come off of the body in this particular pose? Well, right there is where that line is going to go. I don't know exactly. It almost seems to be pointing towards that intersection that might give you, but, you know, just sort of eyeball that. I think you can get away with. And then the other side of the neck is going to come somewhere around here, bottom of the ear. Where does that work for you? Hey, it works for me. Bottom of the ear. Yeah, let's go with bottom of the ear. So anyway, we've got these lines in place. I'm going to go ahead and do the ear and the hair in time lapse, and we'll come back for a few more words before I go to final line art. All right, so we've got all the lines where they need to be. I'm going to pull out my black Prismacolor here, a colored pencil, just to do final lines here. That's a more or less permanent pencil, and then I can erase all of the guidelines and then go right in and add the final shading. You know, I'm going to be covering an awful lot of stuff during this next bit of time lapse, but that will help keep this video short. If you want to have a separate video on doing the detailed line work, adding the shading, go ahead, request that in the comments section, and hopefully I'll be able to do a video like that in the future. But for now, let's go ahead and finish up this drawing. Alright, well there you have my video on how to draw a realistic face. Just one more tip before I go. Notice how the shading beneath the lips here can be almost as important as the shading on the lips themselves. Also, a little touch of shading beneath the eyes can help things. But let's go ahead and wind this one down. I want to thank anyone who has supported me by getting my graphic novel series, Brody's Ghost. There are 2 books in this series, a 3rd one on the way, May 1st, coming from Dark Horse Comics, and then Mastering Manga, my How to Draw manga book, which is coming out on March 8th. In fact, the ebook edition is coming out apparently on February 8th, so you may be able to get your hands on that even quicker. But let's go ahead and end things. I want to thank you so much for supporting me the way you do, the way you sometimes embed my videos on Facebook and spread the word that way. I really am blown away and greatly appreciative of all your support. But let's lay the pencil down. I want to thank you all for watching this video. I hope you found it useful, and I'll be back with another one real soon.